The South African Digital Marketing Podcast is made in collaboration with Sean Lutz. Coming up in this episode of the South African Digital Marketing Podcast.
I can talk about marketing and brands any time of day. Wake me up at 3 a.m. and I'll have a point of view.
Maybe you're feeling a little bit anxious about approaching your manager or even your director of marketing or your CMO and asking those questions.
What I've learned over the years is that when you're having fun as a team, you're actually delivering your best possible work.
That can be infectious and enthusiastic, at least building the enthusiasm into your team.
I want to work with people who also love what they do.
Welcome to Season 3 of the South African Digital Marketing Podcast. My name is Terence Mentor, and I'm a digital marketer who's realized that since this industry is constantly changing, we need to be constantly learning, and the best way to learn all the things is to talk to the people who are really doing all of the things. In Season 3, I'm talking to CMOs, heads of marketing, and other leaders of marketing people about the realities of their positions. In this episode, I chatted to Harsha Prag, who is the newish head of brand at Electrum. She has a long career in developing and leading marketing teams. So we spoke about what makes a marketer perfect for her teams, what growth mindset looks like in a leader, and how to take on the challenge of her first few months in the new role. You can connect with Harsha on LinkedIn. I'll put a link to her profile in the show notes, but let's get into it. Here's Harsha.
Okay, so hi, I'm Harsha. I fell in love with the world of brands when I was a kid. I come from an entrepreneurial family. So from age 5, we were made to work in the shop, weekends, holidays. And so I've been learning how to position, how to sell, how to understand what my customers need from a really young age and really being trained by the best. My dad, my uncle, my grandparents. And then when I first came to Joburg, I grew up in a tiny town in the Eastern Cape called Uitenhage, or now Kariga. I saw billboards for the first time and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I want to do this. And so, yeah, then since then, studied at UCT and then worked client side, agency side, did my FMCG trading at Colgate-Palmolive, which I loved, moved into the agency world, did strategy, and then went into brand consulting. And now I'm back on the client side working at Electrum Software. And yeah, I'm heading up the brand team. I'm brand new myself. I've been here for 7 weeks, but I'm loving it so far. It's my first time working at a tech company, and there's a lot of category differences to what I've done before, and it's incredibly exciting for me.
You have a very, I would say almost a unique perspective from a lot of marketers that I talk to, where a lot of marketers, they knew they wanted to get into marketing and they really were getting into it for the creative side of what marketing can bring. But you have this kind of unique sales perspective that often I feel is lacking in the marketing conversations that we have. So that's pretty interesting. And I would love to dig deeper into how you bring those two worlds a bit closer together, which is, again, sorely needed. But
yeah.
Since you've worked in multiple positions in multiple organizations, both being in teams and also leading marketing teams, maybe could you tell us what your ideal team member looks like? What skills do they have? What personality types do you work well with? What are you looking for in a team member?
So because I love what I do, I want to work with people who also love what they do. They wake up and they're like, wow, I'm not a heart surgeon or a lung transplant surgeon like somebody we know. We actually get it, right? So, and I have friends who are surgeons and they're great at it, but it's people who love what they do. Because when you love what you do, you're going to push yourself to do more and to show up as the best possible version of you every day. So that's really important to me because I get very excited about it. I can talk about marketing and brands any time of day. Wake me up at 3 a.m. and I'll have a point of view. The next thing is I love people who know that everything is figure outable. So they because life is tough. And like when you're in the world of brands and marketing, things are changing all the time. From 1 week to the next, TikTok changes what is considered good. And now you've got to figure out, okay, this is the new way of doing it. So people who want to figure things out, people who want to grow, and people who are ambitious about how they want to show up and add value to the world. So they've got high agency there, and really it's that enthusiasm for what you do. Because you've got people that are so focused, and I've been this person, so focused on their ambition and their career goals that they forget to have fun. And what I've learned over the years is that when you're having fun as a team, you're actually delivering your best possible work. So I want people who find it fun and who want to have fun. And it doesn't mean that you're, playing around. The mere act of coming up with a strategy, briefing a copywriter, making sure that the visuals work, it's fun for you. So you're going to pay attention. You're going to own it. You're going to do your utmost to bring the best for the business. So those are the kinds of people that I thrive with, and they thrive working with me as well.
So the person that Harsha mentioned was actually my brother, who studied with you, studied
Yes.
business with you, went through that whole process, and then realized, I don't want to be in the business world. I want to rather be a surgeon. That is actually a great example of what you're talking about. He knew he wouldn't enjoy doing that kind of work, but he would enjoy being a doctor, and he is
It's exceptional.
well, let's not praise him too much, but but it is something that every challenge that comes his way, he is excited to take on that challenge. And I can totally understand that you want someone in your team who sees opportunities, sees challenges, sees problems, and gets excited at solving it. How are we going to access? We need more data. Okay, let's get together and figure out how to do that. And that's it's almost like the people who get excited about doing escape rooms, where they're excited to like problem solve together and work on that. That can be infectious and enthusiastic, at least building the enthusiasm into your team. So would you kind of look more at that personality over a skill set? Like the personality hire is important?
No. So they both have to be equally important, because personality hires only get you so far. And the kind of marketing that I love to do is always strategically informed. So I need people who are also absolutely competent. It's got to be the best of both. And I refuse to choose as well. I am the leader. I want somebody who's competent and excited as well.
Yeah, that would make sense. You shouldn't have to be someone who ruins the team vibe or someone who doesn't know what they're doing. It's possible to be both people.
I think you are both people, because by the very nature of how you've built your career and you've built your audience with this podcast and all the other avenues that you're building these audiences, you love what you do. You wouldn't do this if you didn't, right? And you're competent at.
Look, this is a labor of love. This is not this is definitely not the paid gig that maybe one day I hope it'll be. But I struggle to take compliments, but I'm going to take that on and say thank you very much. I'll quickly move us on to the next question, because again, you've been leading different teams, and you've just started in this newish space. What kind of challenges did you not expect come with leading a marketing team? It's one of those things where someone like myself was looking for it and going, oh man, it'll be great to lead people. It'll be great to like help juniors grow and develop. But what challenges did you not expect when you started?
So the biggest challenge is actually yourself. Because when you finally get that leadership role, you've got to really be able to focus. And you've got to be able to not just focus your attention, but your team's attention as well. Because there are fires everywhere and there are opportunities everywhere, equally both. So it's really learning how to lead yourself and knowing where to focus, because everything requires attention, but it can't all get attention at the same time. And so having the vision to say we want to go here, and then knowing which of the 20 things you'd love to do, which are the 10 things you have to do, and then keeping your team focused on that. Because when you're blessed with people who love what they do, who are really good at what they do, then that's how you keep us all going. And so that was the first part. The second challenge that I see is creating a structure that actually helps you deliver at scale. So when you're in a system and it works or doesn't work, it's very easy to have a point of view to say, oh, this is working, this is not working. But when you're leading the team, you need to create a structure that allows everybody to thrive. Because when everybody in your team is thriving and they're doing the right things, the business is going to benefit from that. So it's building the structure, having the vision, and having the the discipline to know what to focus on and what to say, not yet. We're going to do that in 6 months from now, or 2 months from now, or next year.
Can that skill be developed? That idea of seeing the big picture, of being disciplined, because there are so many exciting things to do. I find this all the time where LinkedIn will reveal a new tool, or like you say, TikTok will have a new update, and suddenly there's a new thing that you can do that's all very exciting. How do you develop that skill set to stay on the right? Well, first of all, decide what the right path is, and then keep yourself on that path.
So I've been lucky that when I worked in the agency world, I honed my skills as a strategist. So I always start off with, what is the strategy? What is this end goal? So what is the challenge that we're setting out to solve? Agree the strategy, because the strategy really is, what are we saying yes to and what are we saying no to? And then that guides everything you do. And of course, when new information comes, alter your strategy. Don't get stuck on it. But that's what guides me. And I can be quite ruthless with my attention. So some people will say that I could have ADHD, or leaders have ADHD. But if you really look at it, ADHD is, I'm going to be completely ruthless about, I'm spending my attention and time here and not here for this reason. And that's how I love to work. And teams that have worked with me know that I'm very clear about what we spend time on and what we don't. And it can be disconcerting for people who haven't worked in that way. But when you do that for 6 months, the results that you get are absolutely incredible. You can move mountains.
Because everyone is working in the same direction, everyone's pulling in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find, maybe as a leader, do you appreciate it when maybe someone in your team, even a junior person, someone who's quite young, who comes in and starts questioning those decisions? Or is it a bit of a frustration? Like, I know what I'm doing, don't you dare question. Who do you think you are questioning me?
No, it's good, because otherwise you become arrogant and you lose the plot. So your team has to have the courage and the space to say, I don't understand, or I don't agree. Because here's the other thing, even as the leader of the team, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have some kind of blind spot. And so you need your team to be able to say, but have you thought about this? Have you considered this? I think you're missing this. Because that's the reason you've got a team and not just one person. And when you're first starting out, it could be a little bit like intimidating to have your juniors say, but I don't understand, But if you really embrace it, because they're here to add value too. And if you've recruited a high performer, by the very nature of saying, I want a high performer, you want people that are thinking about what they do. So they must come to you with questions. And once you explain it, and they get it, the questions stop, because now they're aligned. Then the questions are, okay, because we want to do this, I think out of the 2 choices I've got, I should do this. Do you agree? Yes. Okay, cool. Let's keep going.
So actually there's real value. And maybe this is something, if you are a junior marketer and listening to this, maybe you're feeling a little bit anxious about approaching your manager, or even like your director of marketing, or your CMO, and asking those questions. But it actually does hold you in a good light. I think it is the kind of thing where a leader goes, wait a second, that person's not challenging. That person's trying to understand and getting a better picture.
Yeah.
That's very valuable for a leader yourself. And maybe sticking with the way teams are developed and grown. Is it possible to have a team that's too big in a marketing department?
I think there must be a point where it becomes unnecessary. But at this, if I think about it, it all very much depends on what is the challenge of the organization, what are they trying to do, and what is the culture of the organization. So, and how do they like to work? And if you've got your vision as the CMO, but the CEO has his or her vision. So how does marketing set up to deliver on this vision? So the size of people is one thing, but the kind of people and skills you've got, the structure that you've got, the processes, and then also the way you enable everybody to show up. So when you've got cultures that's, very hierarchical, you need to build a marketing team that responds to that. But when you've got structure or cultures that are different to that, build a marketing team that supports what the bigger leadership team is trying to do. So I don't have like it's a this or that. It's what are we trying to do here? Let's feel our way around it and then go for it.
So, I mean, I was hoping for an answer like 10. 10 is too many people, but of course it's not possible.
I have
It's
no
very
idea.
strategic. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a very strategic thing. The more marketing leaders I talk to, everyone seems to feel like the team they currently have is always just too small. They always wish they could have one
yeah,
extra person with this particular
that
skill
is,
set.
yes.
And I guess that's a sign that marketing budgets are shrinking. How would you know it is time to increase your team? What would you be experiencing as a marketing leader, or what is your team going through that makes it clear that actually I do need to try and justify an additional person on the team?
So that's a challenge that I think any leader faces in any team, not just marketing. It's proving the value to the business of adding one more person to the salary bill. And again, it goes back to we want to achieve this. We've got these skill sets, which helps us only get this far. We've exhausted what we need to, change from a workflow perspective, from a process perspective, we've done everything we can to level up people. So you need to do all of that groundwork and then show the business, okay, we've done all of this. I've analyzed it. I've improved what I could, etc., etc. Now to do this specific thing that we don't do currently, we need the skill set is almost a very easy conversation to have. But if it's one more person that has that, and we already have the skill set, it's then saying we're doing this amount of work for you. We want to do this amount of work. So in order to do that, let's hire somebody else. And what has always worked in my favor is my enthusiasm for what is possible. And so that's also why I like to recruit people who are as enthusiastic. So if you're going to your CFO and your CEO and you're saying, we're producing X amount of collateral and we're winning in the market in this way, but I think we could do this. And we could do this and this and this. And in order to do this, like, again, you're selling the vision, you're selling the problem that you're trying to solve and the solution. Then you're saying, okay, so to deliver this, do we buy into this big picture? Yes, we do. Okay, these are the resources I need.
So it's not even just a reactive thing that you're experiencing. It's even thinking ahead of what are we missing out on, or what can we be achieving? How much more can we be pushing?
Yeah.
And again, like you're saying, that enthusiasm for doing bigger and better work does eventually translate to the people who have to make the final decision, the CFO or the board or whoever it is. Just as we're starting to come to the end, I am fascinated with beginnings of positions, beginnings of new work. The other day I was talking to a few agency owners, and I was just like, what is the first thing you do when you get a client? What is that first hour like? And just understanding what the grappling is with that first initial contact. You are in a very particular unique position because you've just started in a new role, which means you are perfectly placed for me to ask you this question about what is on your task list for the first 3 months in leading a new team, specifically even in your current role.
Yes. So the pep talk that I had to give myself before starting this role, and that I do every week actually on my way to work, is my role right now is to build clarity. So, and whichever way that looks, so to build clarity within myself around what is the task to solve, what is the company culture, knowing as much as I can about the industry, about our clients, our competitors, and then also understanding the team. So the team that I've got, what are their skill sets? What is the company culture? What is the role marketing plays? What role could marketing play? So it's really building that clarity. A lot of times I have, and I'm sure many people do, in the past, you go to a new company and you try and spend your first 6 months proving yourself. And when you just try and prove yourself, you miss so much because you're very much focused on you. And what I realized is I don't want my team to prove themselves to me. They did that in the interview process, and so did I. And so the pep talk I keep giving myself is that I'm not here to prove myself, which seems counterintuitive.
Mm.
But as a leader, I'm here to bring clarity. Clarity of this is the vision, this is who I am, this is how I show up, this is how we show up. This is how I want to collaborate with you, head of sales, head of commercial. This is how I want to understand your world, the head of engineering. So it's just bringing that clarity of purpose, the clarity of really truly connecting with what is important to them and looking at how I can best support that and vice versa.
Especially where you're working in a complex industry that has a very technical aspect to it. Asking those questions makes a lot of sense. And I guess you don't want to be the person asking that question in 3 years' time when you kind of should know already. You kind of have a bit of a free pass to ask the dumb question in your first few months.
Yes.
And I do love that idea of finding the answers not just to the technical questions, but to the kind of more esoteric, what are we doing here? What are we trying to achieve? How can we push forward? Do you find that sometimes and maybe not in this particular role, because we want to always be positive, but what happens if you start asking those questions and you don't like the answers that you're receiving? What is the next step after that?
So I have been in a place like that before. And what I've learned, so it's not what I did in that role, but what I've learned is that if it doesn't sit well with you or it doesn't make sense, and being the personality that I am, I want to go and solve it and make it make sense. What you actually need to do then is to take a step back and understand the context within which these decisions were made. Because then it brings more clarity again to why people are thinking in a certain way. But once you understand that, then you can say, okay, have you considered looking at it from this perspective instead? And depending again on the culture and the agreement you've made with your leadership team up front, you'll know how much you can push and how much you need to sort of slowly lead people. So it really just depends on the culture and the agreements that you've made and where people are at. Because sometimes somebody has worked, or not sometimes, most of the time, somebody, your colleague, has worked really hard to build this perspective. And when you come in there and say, well, actually, it doesn't quite fit, or you haven't thought about it in this way, it can be really infuriating and damaging to say this doesn't make sense. So the way you deliver that, it all starts with how you've got to understand why they thought that way, why they thought that would make sense, and then you can build from there. The first time I encountered this, I was like a bull in a china shop. My enthusiasm, wow, this doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. And I alienated a lot of my colleagues, and which was a great learning experience because now I know, step back, understand the context, ask more questions, and then see how fast do they want to move forward? What kind of collaboration are they looking for? Because that also then determines if you're with the right team, and you've got to actually figure that out before you take on the role.
Hopefully, if you can get access to that information. But the thing that I love about what you're saying is that it's very similar to the way we were saying that we should deal with a junior on your team who's very enthusiastic,
Yes.
but maybe doesn't fully understand everything. It's really about putting your own ego aside, right? So you're not being offended when someone is asking you about why we do things the way we do, but at the same time, you're also being gentle in asking other people why they do the way that it's very other person centered the way you're talking. Is that a big part of, maybe, I'm not sure if it's just general leadership or specifically your leadership style, to kind of put yourself in the other person's shoes and try and figure out how to best communicate with them?
Well, to be perfectly honest, leading with empathy was something that I wasn't very good at for a long time. I was so focused on what the marketing challenge was because that is what inspires me. But as I've grown, I've worked with coaches that have helped me see that leading with empathy really helps you make the massive change that you're looking to make and make the impact that you're looking to make as a leader. So now that is a core part of how I lead and how I coach my team to lead as well. Always put yourself in the other person's shoes. And it's driven by the fact that I didn't do that for a long time and it didn't work for me. And then I've had the most amazing mentors and coaches that have helped me see that there's a better way.
A big thank you to Harsha for her time and her insights. If you want more great conversations just like this one, don't forget to subscribe to the SA Digital Marketing Podcast wherever you're listening to this right now, or follow me on LinkedIn. I'll put a link to all of that in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening. This was the SA Digital Marketing Podcast.